This video is brought to you by my patrons and by viewers like you. Greetings, groovy people. Welcome to Blue Dragon Art. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. Let's talk about failure. Oh god. Oh god, what can of worms am I opening up here? Okay, I think it's safe to say that I've got a lot of experience in this field, but I think it's also, important to remember that I've also got a lot of success, too. And as we get into the video, I'll talk a little bit more about my own parameters for what success is. But that success isn't necessarily fame. It's certainly not fortune. But it's like these little gems that I've been gathering and storing away. Hoarding, if I may, like a dragon. A blue dragon. I am not a blue dragon. You guys, I like dragons and I like blue dragons specifically. Anyway, this video is in part for me, for myself, and it's going to act as like a reminder that through the apparent failures, that there's also a silver lining. And that I've also had a lot of successes because as human beings, we tend to quite often hyper-focus on the negative. We'll have so many good things happening, or we'll have so many good events, and then when something bad happens, it can, at times, crush us. Crush our ego, crush our sense of self, crush our sense of whether or not we're succeeding. And I'm like everybody else. When I receive criticism, or if I don't win something, or if I don't get accepted into something, I definitely have this part of me that, there's a pain deep within yourself. It's that pain that it's very hard, it's hard to explain, but it's also something that most of us have felt, kind of like a deep aching. But the great thing about people is that we're both a combination of feelings and chemicals and emotions, and we also, in spite of being able to suffer such pains, and they are pains, I put it in quotes, but pain, we're also able to rise above that and keep going in spite of what we've suffered in the past. And I know that I'm making this sound super melodramatic, but stick with me, okay? Because really, when you're making art of any kind, it is something that is extremely personal. And even if it's somebody saying something and it's very impersonal to them, your hands suck, or you can't draw perspective, or I don't like this story, you got bad writing. Even if it means very little to them, it means a lot to the person receiving that. Even if they don't really mean to crush someone, maybe sometimes they're just callous or they're tactless, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe they're not even thinking the level at which words can hurt someone. It might just be a Tuesday for them, but for you, it was bison burning your village down. Wow, the 90s is coming out really bad in this video. But at the same time, those pokes, those stings, those things that, even if it's not intentionally causing you pain, and don't get me wrong, there's trolls out there that really do want to, they want to lash out at other people, and hurt other people because it makes them feel powerful, probably because they don't have a lot of autonomy in their own personal lives, and so it makes them feel good to tear somebody else down. But even if it's not someone, who's just not thinking, in that line, maybe they just don't really know that what they're going to say is hurt someone. As an artist, it's very important for us to kind of remember that, one, you're not going to please everyone. Two, you're probably not going to please most people. But three, it's important for you to really figure out who your art is for. Now, there's all kinds of stuff we can talk about, wanting to succeed for monetary reasons, for wanting to put food in your mouth. That's not what this video is about. So if you're here trying to, if you're here seeking out words of wisdom on how to succeed and how to deal with your failure, dude, this is not the right channel, okay? What the fuck do I know? What the fuck do I know? I don't make a lot of sales. I'm happy with my reader numbers. If I get more readers of my comic, Dark Horse, that's cool. Links for that are in the description. But that's not what this video or even this channel is about. What I want to do in this video is really help to put a spin on my own perspective regarding failing at certain things, but also making sure that we take the hits. We get knocked down, we get back up, I get back up. I'm not even using the royal we, I mean we as a community, but also me, myself, giving myself a pep talk that, like, those failures, each time you fail, there's something to be learned from it. And maybe that thing is, how to improve to please somebody else. Or maybe that thing is that you learn this might not be for everyone else, but it certainly made me happy. And so you've learned that, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks, because this made me happy. And while we as humans love to share our art, we want people to like our things. It's also important to remember that what's personal to you and what's meaningful to you, it doesn't have to mean shit to somebody else. It's a weird balance, and I know it's really kind of hard for me to explain this because I am someone who definitely wants people to read their comic. I want people to find joy in the art that I create. But I also am very individualistic. It's weird because I'm both like a super social person, but I'm also very internal and motivated internally, if that makes sense. So it's kind of hard to strike a balance because it's like, I definitely want to improve. I definitely want people to like what I do, and I'm working on that. But also I've come to terms with, I know that things that I do are very niche. I know that I kind of live inside my own head. So over the years, over the decades, oh God, that I can say decades. Wow, it's scary, isn't it? I've learned that I have to make sure that what I'm doing is making me happy, because I've tried the route of doing art for other people. I do commissions sometimes, but like I've tried to do like comic art with and for other people, and it can be fun, and I definitely learn things from it, but people don't always stick with it. And then when projects and things get abandoned, you're left holding the bag. And it's like, I have to remind myself that even though this didn't go anywhere, I did get practice, and I did, it wasn't like a waste of time or anything, but it still sometimes feels like, damn, I could have been doing something else. This person didn't finish this comic they wanted me to do, or whatever it is that dropped, or I guess failed. That's the word of the video. Failed to see fruition there. Not failed in concept or in story, but like failed to find completion. So I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, it's kind of like a give and take. You're doing things for yourself. That needs to be very important. If you're finding that just everyone is tearing you down, nobody likes your art, there's definitely constructive criticism that, needs to be considered if you're in the mindset to improve. But it's also very important to remember that other people's words aren't necessarily, the final say. And what other people are looking for and like might not be what's bringing you enjoyment. So it's kind of a strange balance that one has to find. So in that way, this video is for me, but it's also for anyone out there needing to hear some words of encouragement. Now, as a disclaimer, we all have different perceptions of success. A person selling millions and millions of prints or comics or books, and they might be like a huge success to other people's eyes. They might still be considering themselves a failure to themselves, whatever their goals are. I can't make anyone shift their standards for themselves, nor do I want to. That is also not the goal of this video, because I know that I can say make art for yourself, but if you're trying to make bread, if you are trying to make money to feed yourself and or your family, then me saying that pleasing other people doesn't matter isn't necessarily going to be valid for you, because you're in a different situation. But at the same time, I want to mention that sometimes that success is just around the corner. And while it's certainly valid to give up on something that's not making you happy, it's not making you money, it's not making you happy. If it is making you happy, but it's not finding the success that you want, there are times when that success is just around the corner, and I'll mention what I'm talking about in just a minute. But most of all, we certainly know ourselves even when we don't know ourselves, which might sound a little counterintuitive, but hear me out. My life, I believe in two things being true at once. I believe in contradictions being able to exist at once, because I am a walking contradiction. We all are, to a degree, really, if we think about it. But we definitely know ourselves in that we know when we haven't hit our mark for ourselves. Maybe that mark is to make an impression on others and to become popular. And maybe that mark is just trying to best convey the visions and thoughts that are echoing around, bouncing around in your mind. Either way, far be it for me, a total stranger, to tell you, another person, that you need to shift your attitude and your goals if you feel like you've failed yourself. That's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to put a positive spin on things. But at the end of the day, you know yourself better than I do. So if you feel like this video is like just being preachy, oh, you need to be happy with your work, that's not my goal. That's not my intent. I'm coming at this in kind of in a cynical way, but also in a way where I'm trying to be positive, because that's kind of who I am. Like I get very cynical, but then there's this little child inside of me that's like, hey, but you really like doing this. You really enjoyed this. It wasn't a hit with other people, but you had fun. So, I mean, it's just kind of me trying to like remind people that there's way to derive joy without necessarily having to please other people. But yeah, something that I've found useful, another reason why I'm doing this video, is that I like to hear other people's stories. Not as a form of like Schadenfreude. I hope I'm saying that right. Y'all know I can't pronounce shit. You know, America! Fuck yeah! I'm just kidding. But actually, the motivation that I garner from hearing other people talk, it's because I can connect. It's like, oh, I oftentimes feel very alienated from other people, because I think, oh, well, none of what this person's saying really applies to me, or I don't feel like this is like the same way that I view things. But then when I like hear other people talking about like their failures, hearing people who specifically are more successful than me who have failed but later found success or found ways to make themselves happy, I find that actually to be very motivational, because it gives hope and it gives inspiration. I'm not like deriving joy from hearing other people fail. I know that's a thing. I know that is a thing. I know people who definitely have told me that they certainly feel it. There's a whole term for it, but I'm not like being disingenuous when I say I kind of don't understand Schadenfreude. Like, and I'm not just saying this to sound like, oh, I'm a super good person, but it's like, the way I was raised, you don't derive joy from other people feeling pain. And I really took that to heart. So it's something that I understand in concept. And I won't say that I've never, ever felt that, especially against people that I'm not particularly fans of, people that I have judged to not be good people, whatever that can mean. But then I always remind myself, that's not a really nice way to be. Don't do that. Don't be like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to clarify that when I'm talking about like hearing other people's failures, it's not because I like to look at them, they're fucking sucking. It's more like, oh my God, I've been through that too. It's nice to know that somebody else has traveled this path and has navigated this thorny journey and has made it through to the other side. That's what I mean. I mean that it's very inspirational to be able to connect with people that you might think are high tower. They're way above you. They're so far above you. And then it humanizes them to hear shit. They go through the same fucking shit that I am going through right now. Does that make sense? That's also, this video is also getting a few like little things off my chest too. Just because I do feel a little down when I don't succeed at something. But then when I talk it through and I share it with people, it makes me feel better because it's like, look, if you're really feeling down, you're not the only one. You're not alone. And you'll be able to get through this. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that there was something that I wanted to talk about regarding people who find success kind of later in life. One of my favorite bands is The Shins. Not just O Inverted World. That actually, the first album that I heard by The Shins was Shoots Too Narrow. My mom is one of these people where she literally will buy albums like CDs based on their cover. It's bitten her in the ass a couple times. She wasn't particularly fond of this one band called Holofax or something, but she really liked the cover, and then she listened to it and she's like, "Nah, you can have this." And I was like, okay, well, this is not really my thing, but I'll find someone who wants this CD, and I gave it to a friend of mine. But anyhow, I digress. The Shins, James Mercer was like in his mid to late 30s before the Shins found any fucking success at all. The dude, I listened to like an interview where he was discussing, how like he was unhappy with where he was in life. He wasn't happy with like his job. It was really wearing on his relationship. I don't know if he's still with that woman or not, but and he was just like, he felt like, this is the end of the road. I'm not going to find success in music. So time to get a big boy job and go do what's going to feed me versus the thing that truly makes me happy in life. And then I guess it got picked up by like the Garden State and it got played on like college campuses. I mean, O Inverted World was like the second album that I listened to, and I can't remember about what year it was. Again, I didn't even really know much about O Inverted World because I was just busy listening to Shoots Too Narrow randomly. But once I listened to that album, I knew I was gonna want to listen to everything by this band. And to this day, anytime the Shins put out an album, I'm there, man. I'm there. I fucking love the Shins. I love their latest album. I know they've had like a shake up in like the band. Mercer's like, got some new bandmates, and I don't know how they feel about it. I don't know if it was like a bad breakup like of Montreal or what was going on. But the point is, I'm really glad that he was on the precipice of giving up, and then he found success. The band, I'm saying he, primarily because he's kind of the band leader and writes most of the songs and stuff. So I really should be giving credit to the whole band, but specifically since the band has been changed a little bit over the years, I'm specifically focusing on Mercer here. But on like a much smaller scale, let's not even talk about fame and fortune and shit. I know people in my life, one of the people in my life who have really influenced me the most are those who set a goal, set forth, and get through it, complete it. It may not be grandiose. It might be as small as fucking designing and building a deck. getting that fucking project done. It might be having a goal of, I've always wanted to go to this country. I've always wanted to travel to this place. And they finally get to do it and achieve it. Those small things that people are determined to do within their life, it means a lot. Actually, that almost means more, to me at least, since it's more relatable, since I'm never going to be famous. It means more to me, these little victories, than some of these wider sweeping stories of fame and fortune. I have friends who have completed entire books, who have completed poetry books, in addition to like fiction novels, who have kind of done the circuit, doing local theater. Another friend whose band was super popular on the local scene. That kind of stuff, these little stories, I find really connect us all. And it took so many failures for them to get to where they were going. And in spite of the failures, they kept going. Because they were having fun. Because it was their dream. Because even if it's on a small stage, it's still seeing through something that maybe other people want to do, but never will do. And that's okay too. That's not me shitting on people who don't do things that they think they want to do or that they dream of. There's a lot of that too. There's a lot of, I wanted to do this, that, and the other, and I know I'm never going to do it in my life. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't like to disparage people who don't have an opportunity to follow through with their dreams. Hell, sometimes you can't follow through with your dreams because you have 3 jobs. You're being fucking held down economically by the way our fucking society is constructed. You weren't given the same opportunities, and you don't have the same options that other people do. So by all means, please don't take this as me shitting on people who just give up on their dreams. That's not it either. That's not at all what I'm saying. I totally understand that there's a greater whole of things that affect us all, and affect other people worse than, some. So that's not what I'm saying either. Okay. I have so many disclaimers, but I'm always so scared that I'm gonna just be uncaring to somebody who's in a specific situation. And it's I'm not one of these people who's just pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
I didn't blame anyone for the loss of my legs. Some Chinaman took them from me in Korea, but I went out and achieved anyway.
Because I totally understand that is not always possible, especially when someone's fucking holding you down, when you're being kept down. I know it's not always possible. So that's not what I'm saying when I say that others have given up on their dreams. But yeah, these stories of these little successes, I'm going to kind of share a combination of both my failures and some of the things that I consider to be successes. This seems like a really long introduction, but this is really just me wanting to kind of ramble and talk about something that I've had this on my list for so long, y'all, and I haven't really had a lot of time to think about it and focus, and time's a-wasting, so I want to get this off my desk. I may come back around to it at some point because I may have a different perspective later on in my life. I mean, I don't know how much more of a life I have. I'm 40. I'm not that old, y'all. I'm just kidding. But, it might be a little different for me several years down the road, and it'll be interesting to kind of compare and contrast, where I was, what headspace I was in when I was 40 versus 10 years down the road. But in this video, I'm going to discuss, how I personally view success. And I do this knowing that it may not be applicable to everyone. But if it can reach, one person, if it can reach the right person who needs to hear it at that moment, then I've done some good in the world. And that's the best I can do. I'm just one little person. One person. And if one person can reach another person, it's not just one person. It's another human being. It's another person that heard what they needed to hear when they needed to hear it. Numbers don't particularly matter to me in that sense because each individual is just as important as the whole. The whole is made up of individuals. So, yeah. I really love fucking Full Metal Alchemist. I know that whole concept of one for all and all for one has been around for like a very long time. But it is very... I love that manga, and I like that concept is very important to me because, being a union gal, I was only in one union, because nobody will unionize. Nobody will fight for themselves. But I very much believe in the concept of the individual being important, but the whole being important. The individual can be important within the whole, and they can be themselves, but also the individual needs to value the whole. Again, two things can be true at once, and I believe contradictions can exist. Okay, let's talk about these failures. I'm trying to fix the lighting a bit. I don't know what to do about the lighting, y'all. I don't know. I never know what to do about the lighting. Okay, so I want to start... Where do I want to start with this? I think I want to start with sometime after college. Because really in my youth, I have had pretty good experiences with people being super supportive. My friends liked my artwork, they used to be really impressed. Believe it or not, in my little podunk school, I got voted best female artist. Wasn't in the yearbook though, because one of the women on the yearbook, well, girls, we weren't women yet, had a grudge against me, and magically our photo disappeared off of whatever digital camera. It was like kind of a new thing. Our photos disappeared, myself and the guy who won. And I know that bitch did it on purpose. And yes, I'm going to call her a bitch because I'm petty and I hold a grudge. Gotta do a lot to make me hold a grudge, y'all. But she did it. To this day, I'm not particularly fond of that woman, but I digress. Oh my god. Yeah, you're going to see a darker side of me. Look, me not liking her has no effect on her life. I'm not saying her name, and she doesn't even know who I am anymore, probably, which is great. I'll never have to see her again. I'm way on the fucking West Coast, and she's still back in the Midwest. So our paths will not cross. Me not liking someone isn't going to hurt her, because I'm not actively going out of my way to make her feel like shit. Okay. So we're not going to start with high school. Also, admittedly, my art was not that great in high school. I mean, it was not bad, but there was another woman whose art I think was a little better than mine, and she probably should have won. Again, I'm saying woman. She's a woman now, but we were, young ladies back then. So let's actually start more so after let's start after college, when I was an adult. As an adult. So I graduated my state university, and I was working for a different state university in I want to say it was 2015. I think that's when I ended up taking these courses. But I was going to apply to a graduate program so that I could get my master's in arts. And I'm not entirely certain how this happened. I know how it happened. Since I was a secretary at this college, I was very meticulous. I wanted to make sure I had all my ducks in a row. My portfolio, I didn't really have a portfolio because I had just been working and working and working and not working much on art. I'd been working a little bit on Dark Horse. But oh my god, if you guys have seen my old art, I've shown it on the channel before, but my old art is not it was not up to snuff. Maybe I know I've shown this on the channel before. Do you see these? Do you see this metal? I actually did this myself. I bought this stuff. I drilled these holes. You know why? This was part of my final project at my university. This is like, how did I graduate, you guys? How did I graduate? This art is not good. Look at this. These were attached to the podium. I had some other pieces. And my art wasn't bad, but for graduating college, this is not college graduate work, y'all. But I had improved a little bit over the years. I was an active part of a forum site called Manga Tutorials, and I would ask, for like critiques and red lines of my work, and I certainly had gotten a little better, but I was nowhere near the level that I needed to be for graduate school, for a master's degree. Now, that was not in my portfolio. My portfolio that I was going to present, but I was asking the advisor, what I need to do, are these files okay, blah, blah, blah. I was asking her for advice on how to set up my portfolio, never realizing what was actually going to happen. She met with me at either a cafe on campus, or she met with me at a cafe in the town where this university was. And she told me, I will never get into graduate school with this portfolio. She was nice about it, but she was very stern. She said, one, I don't like your style. Two, your forms are not proportional. They're not accurate. And three, she literally said, I cannot believe your college let you graduate. Now, I know some of you out there are probably going to be like super angry about this. I was too. And well, internally at first, before I was angry, my first thing was, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. It was very painful to hear those words. But because I had gone to college, even though I graduated with shit art, I did some other stuff too. Let me show you one other thing that was part of it. Oh my God, you guys, this is so bad. This was also part of my art show. I technically graduated with a ceramics major. I graduated with a ceramics major. Holy fucking shit, you guys. Oh my God, this is from 2006. But this is a bookend. I made a whole series of bookends. I had a triptych of my Dark Horse characters, and that had actually won the student juried fucking thing. But even looking back at it now, the art was not good. If I can find it, I'll put it up in the video so you can see what it was. But it was like the inked version, the colored version, and then in Photoshop I had altered the colors to be more psychedelic, and that had won the student juried contest. James Luna, who is an installation artist from California, he had judged it. And I got to drive him to the airport whenever he left. It was really cool. But anyway, it was not good. It was just, I'm sure he just was like, oh, this is different. Because anime and manga, especially in the Midwest, at that time period, wasn't very popular yet. Like, it was starting to get popular. But, like, my piece, I'm sure, only won because it was a little bit different. And he probably thought I was a freshman and not as old as I was. But I digress. When this woman looked at my stuff and told me how bad it was, it hurt. It would hurt because each time I created a piece, regardless of how poorly done it was, I had put my heart and soul into it. It was something that I was very proud of because at the time it was the best of my ability. And in that way, I wish my college had done better by me because, like, my realistic stuff, like my charcoal and shit, was not bad. I mean, I still use one of my self-portraits to this day that I drew back in college. But at the same time, It was very personal, and it hurt very much, but she wasn't wrong, is the thing. She wasn't wrong. If I hadn't, would you be reading Dark Horse if this was still the cover? Some of you out there I know read my comic. Would this draw your attention? No, it's not particularly, it's not bad. I put my all into it and it was good for my level at the time, but she was very honest that I was not going to get into college, into a master's degree with this artwork. And yes, that hurt, but having gone through college and having learned how to take critique, while it hurt, instead of letting her know that hurt my feelings, I asked questions. Because instead of getting angry immediately, something that at least I find valuable is that first, you need to question whether or not the other person's opinion is valid. But in order to discern that, you need to ask questions. How can I improve? What specifically do you not like? And in this case, it wasn't just I don't like anime, because by this point it was 2015. My professor knew what anime was, and she wasn't one of those just shitting on anime, even though that wasn't like her thing. She wasn't that type of professor. But I had to break from my emotions at that point and let her know that I wanted to improve and I wanted to be better. And so while this was a failure, the thing that I want to stress is that you don't have to let a failure crush you out of doing something that you enjoy. Instead, succeed out of spite. No, I'm just kidding. That was written in a bathroom stall at the Horse Brass Inn in Portland. I don't know if it's got painted over or not, but I fucking love that quote. I wanted to prove that I could do better. Not just for her, but because inside, the reason why I wanted to go and get my master's degree was because I wanted to keep improving. I wanted to be able to draw things that I was incapable of figuring out how to draw. I'd done the perspective in some of my classes, but I wasn't able, we didn't do enough of it, and I wasn't able to translate that to my comic and my style. So in some ways, I 100% failed at even applying. I didn't even get to apply, but she saved me fucking money. Let me tell you, I actually respect her for doing that because, you know, colleges need money. We were going through this big prioritization thing, and I know the art department was going to get slashed because that's the first fucking thing that they slash at a state school. They don't give a shit about art. You know what I'm saying? So instead of just wanting to get my application money, she was fucking honest with me and told me. And then, you know, she said, when I reacted the way I did, instead of being angry and pouty and immature and childish, when I asked her and let her know, you know, in what ways can I improve? What could I do to better my chances? She actually ended up taking me on, and she said, look, you're at the university, you work here, you can get free classes. You'll have to pay for your supplies, but because I reacted in a way where I wanted to learn, which is what an institution is for, instead of just giving up on me, she was like, you should take some free student at large classes. I'll be your advisor. Take some classes, brush up on your basics. I think that, you know, you could learn a lot from that. And while I don't think your art is up to snuff now, you definitely have potential. So it's interesting because I think professors oftentimes are kind of looking to see what your personality is and whether or not you're able to take critique, because the art world is hard. It is fucking harsh. And it's a little bit different now, but it's almost, I mean, not really, because it's come out of the classroom setting, and now it's just anyone on the computer can come in and give their opinion whether or not you want it. But so that I would think is a pretty crushing failure in my opinion. But instead of letting it get me down, I took it in good faith. And I was able to turn that failure into a success because I took classes with her and I learned so much. I learned about masking fluid. I learned about gouache. Mark Curley also, gouache, uses his beloved white gouache. I learned some different techniques. I started learning that I needed to figure out specifically what I want to do. Now, they didn't have illustration classes at that college either. For fuck's sake, God, all I wanted was a fucking illustration class, you guys. But anyway, I took like some basics and my art improved from there. Was it great? No. Was it worthy of being in an art institution? Well, worthy is, a loaded word, but was it something that was going to end up in an art institution? No. But it was better than it had been, and I learned so much, and I created some interesting pieces, and I was also, at that point in my life, in a very bad relationship that I'm not going to talk about, and I was able to channel a lot of my interior feelings into some of the paintings and artwork that I was working on. Again, it's not great art, but it meant something to me at the time, and it really helped me get through a very bad, dark place in my life. So again, it was a failure, but it was also a success, and it saved me money because I already had too much fucking college debt, y'all. I was glad I was able to just... Oh man, the other thing is that the professor, a lot of times if they had extra stuff, she would ask if I wanted some of the extra supplies. She felt bad for me because she knew that we secretaries were unionizing because we were fucked. We hadn't gotten raises for 6 years, and she was like, man, these people, she just felt really bad for me. And a lot of the other students, she also offered it to other students. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't just hogging all this shit. But, they oftentimes didn't want it. So she would see if I wanted the extra stuff. It was great. And I actually, I came to we respected each other and we got to know each other. And to this day, I really like, I don't talk to her anymore, but I appreciate all that she did for me. Where I failed, she helped me find a way to pick myself up and keep going. So that's my first story of failure that I wanted to share because it was very devastating. It's very hard to have someone, especially someone who is a professor, who is succeeding at what you want to do. It is hard for someone to just flat out say that you're not good enough, or not you, but your art is not good enough. But I said you're not good enough because our art is an extension of ourselves. It is a part of us. So even if it's something impersonal where someone is saying that to you, it hurts because it is a part of you. And if they're not judging you, they're judging your art, and they might not actually be judging you. They're not. It's very impersonal. Because like I said, we ended up liking each other very much, and I would hang out after class sometimes and talk to her, even though I had to get up the next day, for work. But seeing that side, it helped me realize even more that when someone doesn't like my art, it helped me differentiate taking it personally. Does that make sense? Because she liked me and I liked her. She just didn't like my art. And she wanted me to do better because she liked me, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So that's my first story on failure. Now I'm going to skip a lot of time here because you don't need to hear my life story. You don't need to hear everything, and I can't even remember everything. So let's talk about trying to get published. So back in 2023, Silver Sprocket had open submissions. And I am currently working on Cool World, a comic that is very much inspired by, not just inspired, it is inspired by Chris Cool. But I want I want to make it my own thing. It is going to be Cool World. I need to fix the cover art. But I thought it was a really great idea. My partner liked it. And I thought it was good enough that I could do a 30-page comic of it, which I still am going to do. So I applied to Silver Sprocket back in August of 2023. I put together the whole title, logline, summary, who I want my audience to be, my biography, things that I've self-published, my social medias, shit like that. God, I need to get this off because that website is defunct. And then my contact. Oh shit. Okay, well, I'll have to blur that out. And then I had thumbnails. I showed my one shot from the Psychedelic Zine. I attached that. But I also had thumbnails delineated for each page. And I really haven't got a lot of this done. I've got up to here done. I haven't done this page. And I'm actually reworking this page. But I went all the way through, thumbnailed everything out, what I wanted each thing to be. And I included the one shot. And then, I'll thank you for the opportunity, blah, blah, blah. And I did not get accepted, y'all. This was a failure at getting published. Thank you for submitting your story for consideration to Silver Sprocket's mini comics open submission. Unfortunately, we have not selected your story for publication due to a number of submissions we received. We were unable to provide individual feedback at this time, so I don't even get to get a critique, which is fine. It's understandable. I'm sure a shit ton of people submitted. I don't feel bad blood about any of this, y'all. I just want to make that clear. We do appreciate the time, blah, 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 blah. I was really sad when I wasn't accepted. This was, in my opinion, a failure. But it's only really a failure if I let it stop me, right? Because again, it is not personal. They don't know me from Adam. There were other submissions that were better than mine. Hell, mine wasn't even done. You know what I'm saying? So I could let this failure crush me and stop me from finishing a story that I want to tell. Or I can finish it and resubmit it once they open up submissions again. And with a finished artwork that I get critiques on, I'm gonna, once it's all done, I'm gonna have my partner read it. I'm gonna see if I can get some other people to read it. And then I'm gonna resubmit it. And even if I fail again to get published, I will self-publish, because that's what I do. And it'll be something that I enjoy to read. Because, even with Dark Horse, I reread my stuff, y'all. I'm writing it for me. But I also want to share it with other people. Coming back to the beginning of the video, where two things can be true at once. I want to be the best I can, but I'm also telling the story to entertain myself. Because it's a story that's in my head now that I want on paper that I can enjoy. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But I also want to be good. I want to share my story with other people. But ultimately, I need to please myself before I please others. Holy shit. Oh, that's very selfish. But it's not really when it comes to art, in my opinion. It is selfish, especially if you want people to buy your art. But, if it doesn't make you happy, then what's the point? What makes it different than you working for the man if you're not doing... then that's fine. That's fine, again. But, art is, in this totally different area of... It's not like, food production or electricity or things that you fucking have to have to physically exist, but it is something that we as human beings emotionally and mentally need to exist. But if you're only doing it to please other people, then what is... I don't know. I don't know really where I'm going with this. It's this fine line because it's you want to make sure you're good enough to impress other people. But if it's not good enough for yourself, and you're not making yourself happy, then to me it's like, I don't know. Like, I like doing commissions because it will make other people happy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But at the same time, it's like, you have to, I think what I'm trying to say is you need to give a little to get a little. And you need to give to yourself enough to make yourself happy so that you can give yourself to other people. I think that's kind of the thesis of the whole failure and success thing. I'm not trying to say that you need to be selfish with your art and only care about yourself, but you can't care about your art if you don't care about your art. You know what I'm saying? God, this is a rambly video. Holy fucking hell. So let's talk about something else. Let's talk about more failure. Last year I was busy last year. I submitted to the Halloween themed Words and Pictures contest. I knew I wasn't going to win this, folks, but I did it. You can consider it a failure that I did not win, but you know what? I don't consider it one, because what I ended up doing with this, because I laid this out to be like A4 size for like a comic book, this led to me completely putting together book 1 and book 2 of The Whimper in the Dark, which is another comic that I work on. And I've sold quite a few copies of The Whimper in the Dark. Actually, I think that's probably one of my more popular comics. Like, not online, but like in real life. People like that better when they see it than any of my Magical Girl shit. Cool World, nobody really gave that many shits about the little one-shot zine that I printed. It's not great art. I need to fix things. This contest, while I failed at winning, I was able to find success elsewhere. So, yeah, I mean, this is what I'm kind of talking about. Like, if you don't put yourself out there, like, the way I'm viewing some of my things that I fail at is, and this is actually what this dude is one of the things behind Words and Pictures, is it gets me to complete something so that I have that for myself. I might not win any prizes, but now I've got this work, I've got this little gem that I can place in my crown of completion. I'm bringing it back to the dragon hoarding thing. I know there's a method to my madness, y'all. There is. Solar Punk magazine, I submitted a poem. They didn't like it. They rejected it. That's fine. Actually, I'm not really a poet, y'all. I really am not. I'm not very good at poetry. But, you know, if you don't try, you can't succeed. I'm going to talk about successes here in a minute. So this was another failed attempt. Blah, I suck. Blah, I can wallow in my own self-pity, or I can learn and get better. Oh, let's see here. Window to the Worlds. I applied to Window to the World zine. I wasn't picked this year. My chances are probably good for next year. Failure at achieving this. But you know what I got out of it? I got a really cool fucking picture of Rena where I stepped up my level. Show it here. I really applied myself to kind of color in ways that I don't normally color. I don't usually do standalone art. I did an entire video on this. And to me, even though I failed at getting into the zine, what did I get out of it? I succeeded in like having a good time challenging myself to do better art. This is a better piece than some of my stuff. And I also was able to, you know, put this up as a vote incentive for anyone voting for me on top 100 webcom... Oh, fuck. On top 100 webcomics. It's a failure in the sense that I didn't obtain the goal that I'd set out for, but it's a success in another avenue in that I learned something and I gained something from it. And other people have been enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just kind of throwing this out here. I also applied to Words and Pictures this year, and I did not win. I didn't even get like... I mean, I got like 16 votes. 18 votes, but 2 of them went away. I found out, I think it's because they were clearing out bots and shit. 16 votes was not a lot in the larger scheme of things. But, you know, it didn't matter. I mean, I wanted to win the tablet. I said that I wanted to win the tablet, but I knew I wasn't going to win it. You know why it didn't matter? It's because, as I said in a previous video, I got to spend time with our dogs who passed away last year. I got to be rejuvenated in this comic that I really love doing, that my partner and I love doing. It really helped make me feel better about the comic and about I'll never feel better about the dogs. I'm always gonna miss them. But I'm not lying when I said Brad and I, we were giggling. So, like, look at this. I got this from... Where did it go? This picture here. Like, I'm laughing now at it. Where I failed to win a contest, I succeeded in having fun with our dogs and with my partner, working on this project together, because he helped with some of the project. He helped with some of my sculpture. I'm not, in spite of being a ceramics major, I suck at ceramics. So he helped me with that. And this really, to me, what's most fun about having done this is that I got to work on something that was very different for me. It was fun looking up pop art and learning new things that I feel like I should have known, but I didn't. I failed at winning a contest, but instead I got personal experience and good times and something that I'm really proud of. I'm really proud of how this turned out. It's so fun to me. It was fun making it, and it's fun to read it. And I mentioned it in, I think the video before last, it brought joy to other people. And to me, there's nothing more meaningful in life than helping other people feel joy in such a hard world. So, my takeaway from this video, I'm talking about all this failure, but I'm talking about like the silver linings and what I get from it. You're going to fucking fail at things. I failed. I'm going to keep failing. You fail. You fail. I fail. Everyone fails. But you don't actually fail. Because each time something doesn't work, you learn something from that. There is no real failure, in my opinion, unless you give up and you didn't want to give up. Now, there's a difference between that and failing and failing and failing and deciding this is not making me happy, and so I am going to stop because it's not bringing me joy. That is very different from I'm failing, I'm not succeeding in pleasing other people, I'm not getting published, I'm not doing this. It's still making me happy, but I'm letting this other thing affect my enjoyment. You only fail if you let others bring you down, and let others make you stop doing something that brings you enjoyment. You don't necessarily have to share it with anyone. You know what? If nobody likes your fucking art and their opinion is bringing you down, if you take that and make art just for yourself, then you're succeeding. I don't see anything wrong with that. You only fail if you let others drain the enjoyment you derive out of something, and you want to do it, and you let them beat you down. Don't let them succeed in taking away something that means a lot to you. Don't let them do that. Succeed out of spite. I know this is kind of like a shit motivational talk, but what I'm saying is my whole life, not even now, not as an adult, but like a good part of my life, I've always been kind of the mousy girl. I was never very popular with the boys. I was never popular with the girls. I wasn't popular with anyone. I had my own little friend group. I had two best friends. And then I had a couple, outside friends. And I could let these other people who didn't know me, didn't like me, I could let them tear me down. Or I could keep doing my thing and make myself happy, which is what I ended up doing. And by the time I hit high school, that had an effect on people. Like, they stopped picking on me, really, because I stopped caring. I'm not saying that's going to happen with everyone, but I'm saying I could have let other people nitpick and force me into this mold that a small fucking hillbilly town wanted me to be in. I could have just dressed the way they wanted me to. I could have been the same small-minded, bigoted assholes that some of them were. Or I could be the person that I wanted to be and accept my friends who were outside the box, be part of the outcast group, make my own friends, and make myself happy with my own little weird. I like mythology. I like fantasy. I like wearing my mom's hippie clothes. I was weird. I was very weird. And I got made fun of a lot for it. But if I let them change me, then they would have won, and I would have truly failed. I might have failed at making them happy. I might have failed at not, garnering the attention I maybe want for some of my art. I wanted to get published here. I failed at that. But I only truly fail if I let that stop me doing what brings me happiness. And this really makes me, it makes me so happy, my progress, how far I've come. In high school, this might have been college, this is what my drawing used to look like. And it's not bad. It's not bad for where I was. But I definitely am not, I wouldn't claim that any of this is good art. But this is the kind of nerdy shit that I was doing, okay? This is the kind of shit that I got made fun of for, I really loved drawing fantasy creatures and fantasy people. I just spent so much time doing this shit, you guys. When I start to feel really down about, people rejecting my art, I like to come back and look at where I was. And this isn't, in my opinion, bad. Especially for the level I was. I don't like to make fun of my old art. But I definitely like to look at where I was. And then look at where I am now. God, the cultural appropriation is strong with this one. I shouldn't laugh. I actually have a lot. I am very interested in Indian mythology and theology, not just mythology, theology. But yeah, look at all these. They're not bad, but they're not great. But they were good at the time. I was so proud of these works. I was proud of these characters that I designed and came up with. I really love drawing the twisty dreads, you guys. I really did. And bangs. God, the bangs. But when I really start to feel down, I will sometimes go through and take a look at some of my old art. And I'll think, maybe this isn't what other people are looking for. Maybe I could be better. But look at how far I've come. Actually, these flowers are still pretty fucking good. Now see, look! This is old as shit. This is so old, but I really like these flowers. There's, oh my god! Oh my god! You guys, look! It's Rena and Odysseus. Look at how awful they look! Oh my god! You see what I mean? When you really put things into perspective, you really only fail if you are enjoying what you're doing and you let other people stop you from creating your art. And even then, I wouldn't even judge you for that. What the fuck does my opinion mean? Even me saying that, you really should only take it with a grain of salt, because who the fuck am I? I don't matter. I'm a disembodied voice, well, kind of disembodied voice, on the YouTube screen, on the boob tube. What I say doesn't matter. This whole video is invalid. But if anyone has anything to take away from this fucking long ramble, this is very self-indulgent, I know. But it's also because, as I'm in the indie scene, I see so many people give up on their comics or give up on their art because they aren't getting the numbers that they want, or they aren't getting the attention that they seek, which is fine. You know, we all want to be perceived. Unless we don't want to be perceived. Well, there are times when you don't want to be perceived. But I'm saying, when you're making art and you're putting it out there, most likely you're doing it because you're searching for others who share your likes, and you're looking for others to connect with. And you might not find that online. But if what you're doing makes you happy, even if nobody subs to your comic, even if few people sub to your comic, if it's making you happy and you have the time and you can, you should keep going. I certainly didn't have a lot of readers when I first started. I mean, compared to a lot of people, there are many who would say I don't have a lot of readers. But I'm happy with who is there. And I like that I can connect with people. And I always love it when someone gets a reference that I'm making. So ultimately, I might fail at becoming a published author, published graphic novelist. But what I've found over the years, why I keep doing this, is the connections that I have made. I'm able to connect with other people who sometimes see what my vision is, or sometimes they're just along for the ride for fun. I have had really in-depth conversations with people about my comic, or about things that I reference in my comic, and then we go and we talk about that thing. And that's fine. That's in part why I share this, is because I guess I'm more in it to make myself happy and to make what small, meaningful connections I can and do. As much as some people might look at what I'm doing and consider myself, or consider me to be a failure, I don't consider myself to be a failure, because I keep going and I learn, and I take what I think is valid from this, that, or the other, and I improve. And when I improve, God, that makes me happy. That makes me happy when I can look back and see the growth that I've made. I'm getting to be what some people consider to be older. I really have never thought of 40 as being old, to be quite honest. When my parents hit 40, I never thought they were that old. But, you know, I've been on this planet long enough, and I've stuck with what I've been doing long enough through very dark times. I kept working on Dark Horse. I had to go on hiatuses a lot. If you go to ComicFury, you'll probably see where I've had conversations with people saying, hey, I'm on hiatus for, I don't know, a year. I'm on hiatus for this. I've been in some pretty bad places, as I'm sure we all have, you know, and I'm sure there are people who have been in worse places than I have. So this isn't like me, you know, doing a pity party. I'm playing the littlest violin. But I stuck through it and worked on things, even when I only had a little bit of time, even when I could only do it here and there. And even when I'm not happy with the pages, you know, I know that I can go back and fix what I don't like. Or sometimes there's a page that I'm still happy with. I hit it. Somehow, some of my earliest pages, even if I didn't execute the proportions and stuff perfectly, I'm still like impressed with how experimental and how I laid things out. And it's like, wow, I wish I could recapture that energy and do that composition again. I really need to get back to some of the, where do I get back? How do I get back to that space? So I'm able to look back at like my failures and still see things that are good within it that I can learn from and carry forward. And then I can see the things that I don't like, that I'm critical of, and leave that behind and hopefully improve. If anything, I want this video to act as some form of inspiration for people who maybe feel like they've been kicked and kicked and kicked, and maybe you have been. Maybe you feel like you failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, but you haven't really failed. I mean, you have in some ways. I can't tell you what your goals are and how to feel about that. And again, it's not my place to. And it probably means nothing, but to me, if you're doing something that makes you happy, in spite of all those failures, I am impressed by you. I find that admirable. I find that inspirational. And I almost find that to be more meaningful than all the successes of someone like Taylor Swift. Not shitting on her. But it's almost more meaningful when the little guy keeps going than someone who's already made it big. Because I'm more impressed with people on my level who keep going than someone who, I mean, I'm impressed with people who have made it. They certainly have skill. But once you've made it, it can sometimes be easier to keep going than if you've never made it, if you get what I'm saying. So I think I've said all I really want to about this subject, at least in this video. I'm always up for having conversations. I might be a little slow getting to comments, just because once I'm again in that stage of my life where I'm reevaluating some of my art and stuff, and I'm trying to get ready to do like a volume 1 of Dark Horse, and I know that is going to require me to be a better artist. And even though I've failed time and time again, I'm going to keep going. And I'm taking like a Proco course right now, a perspective course. I might do a video on that. I won't be able to like put all the content in, but I'm doing the one with Marshall because I recognize that I need to be better with my perspective. And I'm a lifelong learner. I am 100% someone who supports lifelong learning. I don't think school should ever stop. I think we should always be curious because we can always learn more either about each other or about a subject. We can always better ourselves with knowledge. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of at right now. And that's part of why I've switched over to a 2 video. Why do I keep doing that? Why? To a 2 video? I don't know if I kept that in another video. I might have edited that out. But a 2 video a month schedule so that I can, again, focus on what I need, what I feel like I need to focus on right now in order to be better and to improve and in order to succeed in my own eyes and my own mind. So, we're done with this video. This is going to be a bitch to fucking edit. And I gotta go to the bathroom, so that means it's time to end. Okay, peace and love. Fare you well, and keep on trucking. Next video will be on November 20th. November 20th. I have no idea what it's going to be. Let's find out. Bye!